Well, football games, certain things happen. The coaches, they have the intention of trying to attack the defense based on information that they've gathered. Now, once you get into the game, as a player, you have to be understanding enough that the game might flow in a different direction than what the game plan is. Now, it's very, very frustrating because you've put in 5 to 6 days of work to try to do this. And I can guarantee you when Sean Payton told him, wow, you're going to be starting on Monday night against your former team, the team that you've only played in, the team that drafted you, team that you've had all your success, I'm sure the adrenaline from Adrian was like, wow. I mean, these are the games that we love. A chance to be able to get back at the team that gave up on me. So I'm probably going to touch the ball 10, 15 times, even with having Mark Ingram II, also having the rookie Alvin Kamara from Tennessee. But once they got into the game, Sean Payton, they were trying to go through so many formations and trying to fool the Vikings defense that Adrian, he's a volume runner. So he was never able to get into a rhythm on the football field. I think he played 6 plays in the first half. And when you are a tailback, since you were 7 or 8 years old, he's been running out of an I formation with a fullback in front of him, so he's able to see the reads of the offensive line. He's played in an I because tailbacks out of the I, they have better vision because they're so far removed from the line of scrimmage. So Adrian playing this different offense in New Orleans, I thought Sean Payton, because I said this last week, I think he had a 1,000-yard season in him. Now I have to retract that because I don't believe he's going to be on the field enough, Nick, and I don't like to change my opinion, but it's fairly obvious. If he's not going to be on the field, if they're going to be platooning 3 backs, then there's no chance of him be a 1,000-yard rusher.
For it being on the field, I wonder if he's going to be on the Saints that much longer. I mean, the Saints are going to realize here very soon that they're not a playoff team. Like maybe I'm sure they had high hopes. They're in a brutal division. The defending NFC champs are in that division. The defending NFC champs from the previous year in that division. And the team that everyone thinks is on the come, the Tampa Bay Bucks, are in that division. You're in one of the most difficult divisions in football. You once again have one of the worst defenses in football. Drew Brees lost his best weapon, Brandon Cooks, this offseason. This is not a playoff team. Mark Ingram is the present. Alvin Kamara is the future. And the problem for Adrian Peterson, and this is something that maybe the Saints knew after seeing him in training camp, is Adrian Peterson, not only is he not like the near past, he appears to be the distant past. Adrian Peterson, his last 12 games, 3.3 yards per carry, 55 yards per game. And we talk about great players when they're no longer great. Usually we're talking about as you would say, the guys that are in the Hall of Very Good. It's a different discussion. We're talking about pantheon guys. Adrian Peterson has won league.
It's even tougher, Nick.
Yes.
For the greatest players.
The greatest. Adrian Peterson won a league MVP, and he's not a quarterback. You know how hard that is to be the MVP of this league with the way it's run these days when you're not the quarterback. And it wasn't that long ago.
Now, one thing I think that should be pointed out, it's not fair to Adrian, because we talk about them having 3 running backs. Typically in NFL, they're going to rotate 2 or 3, typically 2. Mark Ingram is a quality running back, up right on the edge of a regular Pro Bowl running back. But he can play 3 downs. He can run it between the tackles. He can run it outside. He can pick up the blitzes. He's got good hands out of the backfield. He's a great locker room guy. But when Adrian signed with the Saints, he didn't have many options. But they didn't have Alvin Kamara. They hadn't drafted him yet. So now you're talking about a great 2-back. If you look at Mark Ingram and Adrian Peterson, you'd be like, wow, okay, the Saints, they really have something. Now they've added a young high draft pick. So for Adrian, it's really not fair, being it's only 1 game. It's hard to get 3 people. It's like if you have 3 great receivers. You can put them on the field, but it's hard to get all of them the ball, and it's almost impossible to make all of them happy.
It's just like having 3 people on this set, and one person has to fight literally tooth and nail to get a word in. So I'm constantly, that's what it feels like. You have 3 great people. Let me ask you a question. If you basically just spelled out for us exactly what Adrian Peterson needs to be successful, which is fullback, go, line up the way you've been lining up for the last couple years, you thought he still had it. We all, I mean, except for Nick, I also thought this could be a 1,000-yard season for him. Why would Sean Payton not at least try to put him in a position where you know he'll succeed?
That's not what they do.
Okay, it's not what they do. They brought him in knowing exactly the kind of running back that he is, knowing exactly the workload he needs, knowing how many chances he needs to be prolific.
It was a lottery ticket. I think that he signed for such a low salary on a team that was going to have the money to do it.
But Nick, that's on him to not know. This is not a team that's going to make me look as good as I can look.
Well, there's, I think, for the Saints, for the Saints, I think it was a lottery ticket. Like maybe we're going to get 2015 Adrian Peterson. Damn near 1,500 yards, 11 touchdowns. Maybe 2016 was the outlier year. And you know what? If that's the Adrian Peterson that shows up in New Orleans, we will change what we do to accommodate that great player.
Even though that's not the Saints?
Yes, because if he's that player, you will change your system for a transcendent player. And for Peterson, I'm sure he believed, I am that guy, so they will change what they do.
And how do they know he wasn't? Just from a couple of practices in the preseason?
I think it's pretty apparent. They must have been.
You have to realize, we can't simulate the game speed. We can't simulate the offensive line. Adrian only played a little bit in the preseason, so how much are we really going to know? We just can't overreact to week number 1 as far as his overall ability. There were no holes for him to run through, and they have 3 running backs that they have to try to get the football. Now, Minnesota had the lead, for the most part, the whole game. So when you have 3 running backs, it becomes very, very important. But the reason why, Jenna, to your question earlier, why I thought it would work was because Sean Payton is one of the best play callers and personnel groupings, putting this guy in a matchup, putting guys in situations where they can be successful. That's why I thought it was a good choice of Adrian at that number. But the truth of the matter is, Adrian didn't have any other options. He didn't have anyone trying to sign him. That's the reason why sometimes you see a player that's playing in a system that does not fit his overall skill. And that's what we have with Adrian and Sean Payton in the New Orleans situation.
So bring it back to your point. Do you think Adrian Peterson lasts the year in New Orleans?
I don't know, because Cris brought up the great point about drafting Alvin Kamara. If the Saints are 2-5, and you have Alvin Kamara, and it doesn't appear Adrian is, at least right now, interested in being a great soldier, so to speak. You know what I mean? A great locker room guy that's going to just push forward with the team. Adrian Peterson, and I get it, a lot of great players don't want a mentor. You were the outlier. More guys are like Brett Favre. I'm not here to teach anybody anything. I'm here to be great. You took Randy under your wing. A lot of great players are not interested in that. And so and I was today before the show, I went through depth chart after depth chart, said to myself, is there a team out there that fits his style that maybe could use him? Like, if Seattle calls up, does that fit a little bit more? Can they handle him in the locker room? It's got to be the right fit. It's got to be a strong locker room presence already that can handle him, a team that thinks they can win this year, a team that's going to have a fullback out there. We're winnowing the list of teams.
I think there is a team, if there was. The one thing we should know about this, as a veteran player who's a vested player, if you're on the opening day roster, your salary is guaranteed for the whole season. So if they do decide to release him, Adrian can pretty much go anywhere for free. So teams think about that and cutting a veteran player who's on the opening day roster. They have to pay his full salary if they decide to let him go. I think that Sean Payton is still going to try to work it out to see if this Adrian Peterson reclamation project ethic can work in New Orleans.
All right.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.